thank you for sharing that. It makes me think of, I think because when we say you've grown from your trauma, we're putting our agenda on someone, right? And we're saying, well, you've grown. And we're so vulnerable when we go through trauma. We need to be our own authorities. It needs to be our own. And so instead, the question is like, what medicine, if you were to make any, not saying you have to, but what would it look like? You know, because I'm a wild crafting herbalist too, that, sometimes I'll even actually have different herbs at my talk, and it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna put a little bit of red clover in here. Why am I gonna use that? And I'm gonna put a little bit of, this helps the heart, or this helps with our lungs, or with grief, and, so that somebody is in such a place where they're recognizing they can actually create that for themselves and imagine, what would that be? But I love post-traumatic growth. I think was first coined at Eastern Mennonite University. They have a really powerful program on restorative justice, and I did their STAR Level 1 training, strategies for trauma awareness and resilience in DC at one point. And they've got a lot of good resources that they're pulling from, for sure. And we have to find the terminology that is a fit for the people we're working with.
Because I can see it on their faces as soon as it, comes out. How do you think you've grown, or can you explain, or what does that look like to you? And they're like, what the hell?
Totally, right? Or the F you, I've grown. You trying to tell me, I'll show you grown.
Nothing good is coming out of this.
Right? Yeah, and it is, and it's sometimes maybe the backlash in that is because we have a culture that doesn't actually really support moving into our pain or trauma. I mean, look at, the history of colonization's just coming to the surface, right? Like, so there's a great example of, like, we hide stuff away. And so I think that's why, is that because there's so much that's hidden, that saying you're gonna grow from this, or what's your post-traumatic growth on that, feels like a bit of an assault. Whereas if there's that encouragement, like, yeah, not even using the word grow, I don't think I ever use that in I use imagine. Right, I'm so conscious of, yeah, absolutely. If you were to imagine, I don't even know if I say something good. That's why I use what I shared earlier with assimilate. If you think about the metabolization process, what can you assimilate? There's also a great analogy I use in the book. I mentioned I've worked a lot with the Q'eros Nation, which are believed to be the last of the Inca, and they're folks that live way up at altitudes of 15,000 feet, high in the Andes, and I've gone to their villages on 3 occasions. I've been to Peru 8 times, and one of the teachings that they have around energy, because they're like the masters of energy healing, is that there's no good or bad energy. That's a hard one when we like stuff to be black and white, right? There's no good or bad energy. There's heavy energy, which is called pucha, and there's light refined energy, which is called sami. And so only humans make pucha. Nothing else on the planet makes heavy energy. Only humans, apparently. And the idea is, but the Mother Earth, the Pachamama, she eats it. So the idea is to learn how to give that heavy energy to the earth, and to allow whatever was in the experience to become that refined energy that actually ends up feeding who you're becoming. And so it's very similar to the metabolization analogy, and it helps, again, us to be, are we empowered, or are we just have really big stomach aches?